By the end of this video, you're going to be able to walk up to any tomato plant, know exactly where to cut, and watch it redirect all that energy you just saved into making fruit. Welcome to Yard Eaters. My name's Matt, and with over a decade experience doing it the right way and definitely the wrong way, here are 6 things you need to keep in mind when pruning your tomatoes. Let's get started. Now, before you start playing barbershop on this thing, you have to ask yourself one question. Is this a vine tomato or is it a bush tomato? Because that answer flips everything. A bush tomato, or what we call a determinate, has a height built into its genes. It's only going to go 4 feet, 5 feet, and then that thing is done. It sets all of its fruits on the end of its own side shoots and ripens the whole crop in just a few weeks. Now, a vine tomato, an indeterminate, has no off switch. It'll grow like a jungle until the frost kills it. That one you prune all season long. So bush, you barely touch it, but vine, we go to work. Now here's the only anatomy you need to know about when pruning tomatoes. So this central trunk right here, this is your main stem. These branches with all the little leaflets attached, shooting straight out at those 90-degree angles from that main stem, those are the leaves. They're doing one job, turning sunlight into sugar for that plant. Now look at where those leaves connect. Along that main stem, you've got these clusters of tiny yellow flowers. These are your fruit clusters. They're going to turn into your tomatoes, especially if a bee gets to them. And then there's this guy, right here, in the smelly armpit, where a leaf connects to the main stem. That little shoot growing up at that 45-degree angle, that's what most people call a sucker. But honestly, I don't like that word. It confuses people. It's confused me for quite a while. What I call it is a baby tomato plant, because if you leave that branch alone, it will turn into a whole new tomato plant. So really the question isn't should I cut it, it's do I want a branch growing tomatoes in this direction? Because that's what you're deciding. If you got a tiny yard and you're putting this plant in between a bunch of other ones, the answer is probably no. You want one clean main stem and you're pinching these off. But if you've got space and you've got the room to let this thing sprawl out on a wide trellis, you might want 2 or 3 of these branches. So it's really up to your setup. Just learn to spot the 45-degree angles, pinch them if you don't want fruit growing in that direction, but let them grow if they have space. This next step you do on every tomato, bush or vine, no exceptions. Look at the dirt. That soil is full of fungal spores just sitting there waiting. Every time it rains or you water, those spores splash up onto the lower leaves, and that's how early blight and septoria leaf spot get in. So remember to strip every single leaf off the first 12 inches of the stem, or until you get to the first flower or fruit. Boop, 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 boop. That one hurt. Also make sure you're cutting them flush to the stem. And when you're done, it should look like that. This does 3 things at once. It kills that splash zone where all the spores are going to jump up on your plants. It opens the base so there's more air to move through. And when it rains or you water it, the plant dries out a lot faster. So look the comparison here. You have this one or you have that one. These spores need a wet leaf to get in. Take away the wet leaf, you take away the disease. So it goes without saying, when you water the soil and not these leaves. Keep the foliage as dry as you can. Now how you remove a baby plant or a sucker completely depends on its size. If it's something small like this one right here, I can just pinch it off with my hands. That's it. Very small wound, it'll heal in a day. But if you're dealing with something larger, like this right here, you're going to need to use some shears. Because if you pull this off with your hands, you risk tearing the skin on the side and opening up a very large wound. And here's the PSA for today. Only you can prevent STDs, shear transmitted diseases. You go over there and you prune a dirty plant, and the diseases from that plant are going to ride on these blade to the next plant that you cut. So just get some cheap isopropyl alcohol. This stuff's cheap. Wipe down these shears, every single time you cut a plant. Don't lose a plant because you propagated STDs around your whole garden. Don't do it. Now the next thing we're going to talk about is specifically for your indeterminate, your vine tomatoes, and it's about maximizing your space. So remember I said earlier how your plants are going to have suckers or baby tomatoes on them. Well, it's up to you if you take those off, right? If you have the space for them to grow in a certain direction, then let them grow. Now you can physically take them off the plant and regrow them in a new pot, but you can also keep them on the plant and create another leader or another main branch off that plant and let that grow tomatoes. Here's an example. So right over here, this plant has a main leader right here. This is your main leader. Right next to it here is the double leader. You can see it coming all the way up here. It has fruit. It already has fruit, and my main branch has fruit. Research shows that if you are going to create a second branch, a second leader off your main branch, pick the sucker right below the first fruit on your main branch. So as you can see, here's my main trunk. These need to be pruned. All of these will prune. We're going to come right up here. This is my first fruit, and this sucker is what I let turn into my second leader. Now remember, I have space here for this. This plant is in a pot right here. But over here, I have gone very aggressive this year with my other tomatoes, and I have planted them extremely close. There's no way I have space for another leader in there. So I will prune these plants to only have one leader and go up. One more thing to consider. We've been talking a lot about pruning basically the crap out of your plant. But these leaves also provide shade for the fruit, or especially in really harsh climates, the tomatoes can burn. So let's say you're in Arizona. I have friends in Arizona. It's dry there, but it's extremely hot. They actually prune light because they use the leaves as natural cover for the sun. I grew up in Florida. When I'm growing tomatoes in Florida, however, even though it is hot, my main enemy is the humidity. I have to make sure that there is airflow going through that plant, or I will definitely catch some type of blight or disease just floating in the air. It just happens. So know your climate and prune accordingly. So I know I said I had 6 things to share with you, but I'm going to give you one quick freebie, and you might make a friend out of it. So any type of sucker, or what I like to call baby tomato plant, is more than 6 inches, put it in some water, put it in some potting soil, and let it grow. That's an identical plant. It's an identical clone to the plant you just cut it off of. And you only need to wait a few weeks. And if you don't want to keep that plant, give it to someone. Give it to a neighbor. Give it to someone you don't like. We should focus on those people. We need to spread some love. Give it to someone you don't like. Let me know how it goes. Put it in the comments. Now remember, a tomato plant isn't trying to feed you. It's trying to make more tomato plants. Pruning is just how we get it to change its mind. So let's recap. Figure out if it's a bush or a vine. Create a disease buffer and strip the bottom foot on everything. On the indeterminates, manage those 45-degree baby plants, your suckers. Pick how many full stems you want based on your spacing, and keep that one strong baby plant below your first flowers. Stop spreading shear transmitted diseases by not cleaning your cutters. And consider your temperature and humidity. Sometimes it might make sense for you to keep some of these leaves. Do that, and these plants will stop building you a jungle and start building you food. So, eat the good stuff, stay healthy, and follow me so I can show you how to eat from your yard. I'll see you next time.